Hey guys, so today we're going to do a technical analysis on Vikas Gowda. He's an Indian national record holder with a PR of 66 meters and 28 centimeters. He's a multiple time Asian Games champion, a 4-time Olympian, multiple time finalist for World Championships, a Commonwealth Games, and medalist. Got 5th place in 2012 Olympics. He's 6'9", around 300 pounds, and overall just a very consistent performer. He's the only Indian discus thrower ever to get third place, to get a top 3 finish in a Diamond League. Really broke barriers for India in discus, and overall, growing up, because he was really prominent in the times I was starting out throwing and stuff, I consistently just saw him in finals and stuff, and just always performed super well. And yeah, always brought his A game, really nice. So let's go here. This is, I guess it doesn't say the distance, but let's just watch this. I stopped recording. I think this was around maybe 65 meters. I forget. But really, really nice technique. And I don't really do a lot of analysis on people this tall. 6'9", that's pretty tall, especially for someone that's 6'9" and almost 300 pounds. He moves so super well. Super coordinated. Well, obviously, because, he's an elite level athlete. But he does some unique things that tall people do that I personally wouldn't like for shorter people. But when you're taller, and I mean like tall, like 6'7" plus, not many people are, so this might not apply to almost anyone like watching this video, because, just not many people are that tall. But maybe someone this tall is watching, and you know what? Good for you. I'm jealous. I want to be that tall, but yeah. So there are a couple unique things that necessarily I don't believe would work that well for a majority of like shorter people, like 6 foot and under. But for taller people, I do believe that this style of technique works very well. Obviously, first because he threw far, and it obviously works very well for him. So let's just play this a couple more times. Let me actually start it from the beginning. That might help. Yeah. So I actually got a video of them recording the entire throw from the back of the ring. It's a very rare thing to see. So, what is this channel? Athletics Federation of India, I thank you for actually being able to be competent and record a freaking throw the right way. Thank you so much. Alright, now that I got that little soliloquy out of the way, let's actually get into it. So, a pretty standard wind. You notice on his downstroke, well, it's kind of blurry. His low point was in the middle, very nice. Winds, so it doesn't really turn very much, so he gets a good stretch here because he stops the hips, lets the upper body keep going, and that creates a stretch reflex. And then he's just gonna hold that discus back. All right, starts very wide, which you see a lot for taller people because they have such long limbs. Usually, the taller you are, the more wider you want to be in general, especially if you're a discus thrower. You see this like with Robert Harding, and even though I think Robert Harding's like 6'7" or something. Peter Malachowski also started kind of wide. He was around that tall as well. You tend to see a lot of taller people start pretty wide, because it's just a lot easier for them to move because of their just long limbs. So if they started kind of in a shorter stance, like a Reese Hoffa or something. I know that's shot put, but like it'd be very hard for them to open up their hips in general. But also, you know, there are taller people who do start narrow. So again, you have to find what works for you. But in general, I tend to see people this tall that throw discus mainly start a lot wider, just because it's just easier. And for him, this honestly isn't that far from shoulder width. He's just so tall that it looks like he's starting super wide. But let me go to this frame. Yeah, right here. You can kind of see, so his shoulders go down here. So he's not that wide compared to his shoulder width. So it's just like it's not like he's doing the splits or anything. So the main thing that you guys watching this video need to understand is that you just need to find a thing that's comfortable and consistent for you. By thing, I mean position out the back. So just find something that you can consistently repeat and hit positions correctly. You know, if you need to do the splits to do that, go ahead. You know, if you need to start with your feet close together, go ahead. It's whatever works for you. Everyone's different. So just find a comfortable wind. That's a main thing. So find a comfortable wind that you can repeat and hit a good position out the back. All right. But consistency and comfort are the two main things I look for a wind. All right. And this looks like just a very comfortable wind. Shifts a little bit over his right leg, just a little bit, but not that much. Keeps a very nice flat right. Lets the heel come up a little. That's okay, I guess. I personally don't like that, but since he's not actually really turning the foot, he's more just kind of just stopping the left side. That's fine. It's very rhythmical, which I really like as well. And especially if you're someone who's been throwing for as long as he has. His first Olympics was 2004, so I'm assuming he was throwing way before that as well. Yeah, like he's obviously very experienced, so he knows what he's doing. So when you get to a certain level, you can it just becomes a natural, like everyone has their little quirks when they wind. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. He's doing all the right things. So he's stopping his hips, letting the discus keep going back to get a stretch. And then that's how he keeps the separation. So let's get over here. I love how he holds this right foot on the ground, so he gets a good stretch in between his legs or his groin right here. And then when his foot reaches 90, now he starts to pick up. The discus is still far behind. Elbow bent a little. We're going to get to that in a second. I would like him to get, if I was his coach and stuff, me personally, I would like the armpit over the knee, but the armpit's over the heel. So, hey, he still is balanced over his left leg, so he still gets the same effect, so it's okay. All right, so he's here. Really nice here. I kind of don't like how his knee goes a little bit in, but again, he's taller. And I don't know if he's like super flexible, super mobile. So this could just be a thing with his hips, or it's just something that works for him. So what this kind of style does, so when he brings his knee a little bit more in, is it makes your sweep go by your left way faster. For someone who's very long-limbed and he has super long legs, this style is pretty good because, you know, it's just a lot of mass to move with their leg. So to get the timing right out the back, you kind of have to do this if you're this tall and you just have like these super long legs, because it's just heavy, and the stretch reflex and stuff can only take you so far. So, yeah. And he's still getting a very nice stretch. Like, This is really nice here. So if he started bending his knee inward, his right knee inward like here, that's not good because it would lead to a closed hip, and then he wouldn't get any stretch. When I tend to see that, the hips will shoot back, so he'll become disconnected with his hips and his upper body and his legs, and his hips will be behind him the entire throw, which means he'll become super upper body dominant, and that'll just lead to a whole host of problems. But here you can see really nice position. Gets kind of wide sweep, pretty standard. It's not super wide, but it's not bad. But yeah, so, and with his upper body, really active with the left arm, which I really like because he's not ripping out the back, all right, but it's slightly bent. This kind of looks a little like Peter Malachowski's position out the back, actually. Maybe it's just this left side because Peter Malachowski always went out the back with this bent arm like this, which I always thought looked super cool. But really nice here. So some people like to keep the left arm inside the left knee. I personally don't care. It's if you can use your left arm without blowing out the back, I think that's better than keeping your left arm in, for the simple fact that it will make it a lot easier to turn out the back. But the thing is, you have to hold here. So you can't just keep your left arm moving continuously. All right, and your lower body still has to be the fastest thing moving. So the left hip still has to be the prime driver going out the back. But I like using the left arm a little, one, because it can pull you just a little bit more over your left, so you can use it to help you get over your left, and it won't be something getting in the way of you turning. All right? But if you do have problems ripping out the back, keeping the left arm inside the left knee is a good cue to use. Many people use it. My favorite discus thrower of all time, Gerd Kanter, he did that. So it obviously works. But to each his own. People have success both ways, but I will say keeping the left arm inside the left knee is definitely a lot easier and a lot more consistent. But I think using the left arm out the back can lead to better throws. I've had talks about this before, so you can look up those videos. But let's get here. Right here. So I think he could have got just a little bit more over his left, because his left foot just kind of over rotates, in my opinion, just a little bit too much. But again, he is starting way over here, so he has to kind of do this to get to the middle. However, he doesn't get to the middle really. He stays on this kind of, on the, I guess if you're facing this way, the right sector line. So he just lands a little bit too open. Again, this obviously isn't his best throw ever. So, I've seen him have better technical throws. But, yeah, he just has to kind of overcorrect. But we'll get there eventually. So, let's go here. So, right here, I would prefer his left side to... like here. His left side to stop and let the right side go through. But as you can see, his left side just kind of keeps turning a little. So I believe that's why he doesn't get as good of a direction as he probably could have out the back. It's still not bad by any means, but it's not the most ideal thing in my opinion, at least. But he could also be starting there because maybe there's a super slick spot in the back of the ring where he usually starts. But usually when I see him throw, he's usually just down the middle. So this could just be an off day, or he had to make adjustments in comp because maybe this side is super slick, or his usual starting point out the back is like super slick or super grippy. He just didn't feel comfortable turning. I don't know. I wasn't there. I was probably in like high school during this comp. So yeah, obviously wasn't there, but yeah, so that could also be a thing. So usually when you see people, and again, I'm not that familiar with Vikas Gowda, so I don't know if he usually starts here, but I know he usually finishes down the middle. So, but yeah, but again, I also don't know because usually they don't film from the back. They usually just like show their upper body or their head. Just whatever. I'm not gonna get into that. Whatever. So gets a really nice sprint face here. So really nice. This is really reminiscent of like Reese Hoffa a little. We're bending the the left arm in the middle, and I've talked to several coaches about this and stuff because I've seen a lot of taller people like Virgilius Elecna and like Lars Riedel and stuff. They do this, and for the most part, they kind of agreed. There are also some nuanced things, but for the most part, because I've always hypothesized, because I usually tend to see a lot of taller people do this, and it's for mainly two reasons. One, it's just like a natural thing that they do, or two, is because they're tall, they kind of have to shorten up a little bit early with their left arm to stay in the ring because they're just so tall. So you kind of have to do stuff like this to kind of stay in. So because what this does is when he pulls this left arm in, it makes his center of mass stay in the middle, so he won't go too far across the ring. All right, so he's able to stay in. Now again, a majority of the people don't need to do this, so I don't know if that's something intentional he's doing or it's just a natural thing. Like I bent the left arm just out of natural, just as something I naturally did. I never tried to do it. I'm not 6'9", so I know I'm using me as an example, but I know like that's something I usually did and stuff. So again, it's not just a tall person thing, but I tend to see the majority of people around this height, like 6'7" plus, kind of do that. So it's interesting. But oops, that was a little too far back. He gets here. Discus is behind his right hip, and you notice it's not super far behind his right hip. With the 2K, you don't want as much separation as you would think. Again, it also depends on your strength levels and what style of throwing you prescribe to. So, but with this, because he's not being like super duper stretchy like a Ishan Haddadi or something, you want to keep the discus pretty close to your hip here. Now, you don't want it in line with your hip. I think the only person I've ever seen actually do that and have success is Christian Che. But he's just a totally different animal. So we're not going to talk about him, even though I love his throw. Obviously, he's a super good thrower. And again, it's getting super windy, so I hope that's not affecting the audio in any way, even though my audio is already just terrible. But I hope you guys can still kind of understand what I'm saying with all this wind. It's actually starting to really blow. But I do apologize for that, so I'll try and speed up this video a little so that hopefully you don't hear a lot more wind noise if you guys do. But let's get into, where was I? Yeah, right here. So here he starts to kind of pull in a little. Normally, if you're shorter, I would like to see you hold this a little bit longer. Hold this position with your upper body just a little bit longer to let the sweep leg just go a little bit more through before you get off the left. But it's fine. He's just super quick. And I also want you guys to notice he gets here and he sweeps down. So he doesn't get a lot of air time. So when you're this tall, it is super important that you don't get a lot of air time, because if you do, you're gonna just fly out. You're just gonna land outside of the ring. You tend to see like smaller people, or shorter people, I should say, have a little bit more air time just because they can, because they have the room, which is why shorter people tend to have a lot more success in shot put mainly. compared to a lot more taller people, just because the ring is a foot shorter, and shorter people can tend to do more of what Vikas Gowda is doing right here, which is sweeping down, which I think is better because you don't want too much air time at all in any throwing, because when you're in the air, you can't produce power. All right, so you need to be in double support to accelerate. So, yeah. But I think because he didn't hold his chest as long as he could have, in my opinion, I think that leaves them being a little bit open. So right here, he just is left foot just is a little slow. So normally I would like a catch to be like here. He also landed a little bit too early with the right because he was a little slow out the back. Not slow, but the timing was a little off, so he got off the left foot a little late. So the right foot landed early, which leads to him having a late left foot. And in combination with the late left foot and the right foot landing a little early, it causes him to land kind of open. However, because he was patient, he still lands discus super far ahead. He's peaking a little, so that's not great. But the most important thing, the discus is way behind his right hip. All right, and he's not blocked off, but it's not like the greatest position. He's more like I would call. Actually, he has a pretty good landing position. It's just, I call it landing on a tightrope where like his feet are in line, so he's not blocked off or anything. It's more his feet are just in line, which isn't the most ideal thing in the world. However, it's better than blocked off. And what I mean by blocked off is, so if you're a right-handed thrower, your right foot lands and the left foot lands like here, so you can't really turn your hip as much as you can. If he landed blocked off and he's on this side of the ring, chances of that discus going right in here are very, very high. But because he lands in this position and because he's super experienced, he can make a quick adjustment and kind of over rotate just a little bit and kind of force the discus out towards the middle. As you can see here, he has to leave the ground just a little bit. Actually, no, he doesn't really leave the ground that early. But you see he's kind of tilted here. So that's not bad. But then he does this little reach out, which I really like, and that's what really saves this throw. But you can also tell that he under-rotated just a little bit because, again, he was riding the tightrope, so he couldn't rotate to his full capacity. Again, I've seen him have better technical throws than this. I think some of my favorites are 2011 in Daegu and 2012, where he did he. I'm pretty sure he threw 65 and plus in both of those. I know he did in 2012. I forget if he did in 2011. Oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. But really nice here. I really like this position right here. So you see he lands kind of tall, and again, that's one because he's like way over here on this side of the ring. So that kind of cut off his the width of his landing position. So his feet are a little too close together in my opinion, which leads to him just being a little tall. However, still gets the knees, finishes bent knee, really nice solid block. I know he's off the ground, but again, that's just because of timing and not landing in the most ideal position, at least in my opinion. But really squares up really nice to the sector, and then really gets a nice out. And when I first ever saw Vikas Gowda, that was the biggest thing that stood out to me in his throw, was the out he gets on the throw. Really nice here. And I think that's super important and super overlooked in discus. It's a big thing in shot, like people are always like reach over the toe board when you release and stuff. But in discus, I tend to see a lot of people that aren't as experienced try and throw up because they're like, oh, if I throw up, the discus will stay in the air longer. People don't realize that what makes the discus stay in the air longer is one, wind, two, how fast you can spin the rim, which is why there are high rim weight discs, low, like different rim weights and stuff. When you throw something super high and you don't have a good out on it, you know what it'll do? It'll just go up and then go back down. You want it to have a trajectory. A trajectory. All right. So I really like this right here, reaching out over. Really, really nice. I really like that. And now his discus has actual flight time. Now I know what you're thinking also, or maybe you're not thinking this, but I don't know you. But some people think, oh, but he's releasing it super high. One is because the camera is a little face down, and also he's 6'9", so he has a high trajectory for the fact that he's just 6'9". So he's just taller, so he's gonna have a high release, but it's not high for him. All right, that's a big misunderstanding. So he's still following his orbit right here. So his high point somewhere around here. Let's see where he releases. Pretty much the same level. Yeah, the discus is pretty much out of his hand from here. And it follows that same flight. All right, so really nice. Did a lot of very advanced things to really save this throw for not landing in ideal positions. Really nice advanced stuff that is very hard to do in discus and shot because everything just happens super fast. And like hammer and stuff, it's a lot easier because you just have multiple turns to kind of. So if you like do a turn wrong, you have some other turns, unless it's like your final turn, to kind of hopefully kind of save it a little. It's very hard to do this kind of stuff that he's doing in discus and shot. That comes with just experience and just knowledge of the sport and knowledge of your throw. So, and just competing super well. Again, he was always a super good competitor, always brought his A game. Every time I saw him, he always threw super well. And always brought his A game. Again, I don't know him personally, but the biggest thing that stood out to me the first time I ever watched him was how much he extended over. All right, but one more thing, you can tell he under rotated just a little bit. So let's see. Left foot lands here. Where does he reverse? The right foot's over here. Again, that's because he didn't land in the most ideal position. But for those of you watching who are wondering if you feel like you under rotate or over rotate or don't know, this is a tall tale sign. When you reverse, wherever your left foot is, if you hit a really efficient reverse, the right foot should just go where your left foot was. So here, because his right foot reversed on this side, he under rotated. If his right foot reversed and it was over here, that would be an over rotation. So that's a quick thing you can look for if you don't have a coach or you're just watching video of yourself throwing. That's something to look out for. And also in discus, you can just tell kind of usually just by where it goes, how it flies, all sorts of stuff. The release can tell you a whole bunch of stuff. I can do a video on that stuff if you guys want. Just let me know in the comments. But yeah, overall, super good. So I'm not going to link all his accomplishments and whatnot because this isn't an underrated thrower video. This is just a technical analysis. So if you want to know like way more about him, you can do your own research. I got to go coach in like 2 hours, so I just wanted to get this video out, even though this is almost half hour. Oh, wow. Damn. Okay. Yeah, hope you guys learned something. There's a little differences in how taller people throw compared to shorter people, so that's something also to look forward to. So if you're like 5'8", throwing like Vikas Gowda, who's pretty much a foot taller than you, is probably not gonna be good. Again, it's also hard to find elite discus throwers that aren't like 6'5" plus. So it's also kind of hard, but yeah, so you just want to take everything in strides there. Not even saying anything is wrong, but if you're super short, I'm not even saying I don't recommend throwing like him, but there are definitely better technical models you can use for yourself, in my opinion, for shorter people. If you're like 6'5" plus, this isn't a bad technical model. Again, this isn't his most technically sound throw that I've ever seen him take. But yeah, Other than that, really, really nice career. Again, national record holder. That's already an achievement. Really put India on the map for a little bit there in discus. And yeah, overall, really good athlete. And hope you guys learned something. See y'all next time. And track season's approaching. Hope everyone's ready for that. And hope everyone watches and competes well. And yeah, see y'all later. Have a good one.